Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio. Your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
What if you've been doing something for a very long time and you realized it's time to make a change? That's what we're doing here today at Iconic Women. We are going to be changing the name because we have an iconic man who is joining us. This is an absolute first. We're going to change the name of the show to Iconic People. My guest today is an author, a researcher, and a professor. And we had the incredible experience of meeting at a conference. And we were both there presenting, speaking, networking, engaging. And now today, this fantastic doctor is here. Let's welcome Dr. Talisi to our program today. Hello, sir. Nice to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Kerbeck, for having me. Yes.
So for our audience who's never met you, would you say your full name and where you're joining us from today?
Yeah, my full name is right there, Dr. Talasi Acharya. Currently, I'm in Georgia, Valdosta. So yeah, I'm speaking from there right now.
Thank you very much. So I'm often talking to people about the fact that it's so important to put yourself out there, to have visibility. And that can be through writing books. It can be through sharing information through social media. And you and I had the pleasure of meeting at a conference last month. And so I want to just have you share, what was your role at the conference and what conference was it?
Yeah, I mean, it was in the at the 9th International Nepali Literary Convention, the conference, where we happened to meet each other. I think it was pretty much a month and a half ago, on the 22nd of May. And we had a panel discussion there on Nepali language and writing in English, and about the Nepali writers writing in English and the situation of Nepali writing in English. We had a discussion and we had a paper presentation, sort of the overview about the Nepali English writing up until now, and that kind of a discussion we had at the conference. Yeah.
Thank you, Doctor. One of the things I think is really profound from what you just shared is, I know I'm an author writing only in English, and we've interviewed hundreds, if not thousands, of authors writing only in English. But yet you and the people who are attending the conference have a profound interest in writing in English, even if that's not the first language. Why is that?
I think the idea is that English is an international language, and pretty much there are many books being translated from different languages into English, and we have the English readers, the audience, growing day by day, and that is the only language. I mean, there are many other languages the books are being translated into, but English is pretty much the common language. People like to read and understand the culture all across the world. And if for example, I speak originally, my mother tongue is Nepali, and I speak and write in English as well. So if I have to read a book written in a different culture, another medium would be either the book should be translated into Nepali or should be in English, at least minimum. So that's why I think the writing in English is an opportunity as well to bring the the culture and the language and pretty much there's so many other things into play, and then translate, and then convey the masses out to the people from a different cultural and linguistic background as well, I think. And that also is one of the reason why we want our culture, we want our voice being heard, and also want other readers to know what cultures we have, what languages we have, what kind of a the voice people have. I think the best medium for now would be in English. I think that could be the reason why we are more interested reading and writing English. Yeah.
Thank you, Doctor. One of the things I want to share about attending the conference, because we're talking about language and English being the first language, I attended a certain part of the conference, and it was not in English. It was in Nepali, I believe. And the whole group of people there were so welcoming. I didn't know exactly what anyone was saying, but I certainly felt welcome. And so that is unlike any conference I've ever attended before, where it just seemed like everyone, namaste, everybody was so open and just heart centric. And so I just want to mention that because I think it's really important.
Yeah, thank you. Because yeah, I think it's also about sometimes even if you don't understand the language, the way they speak, the tone, the voice, even the postures and the gesticulations. I think even the sound and the noise. There are certain words like onomatopoeia. And just by hearing the sound. Also speaks a lot. It has a rhythm, it has sort of the music, and that appears to be very musical and very very expressive and direct at times, and sometimes it's fun even if you don't understand. Listening to the language other than the language that you grew up speaking reminds you of so many things, or helps you understand so many other implicit and tacit the information that you would not have understood otherwise. So yeah, definitely.
I want to just ask you about something that you mentioned before, and then we're going to get into your actual background. But if you think about books being translated from Nepali into English, for example, is there anything that's lost in translation, like that famous movie? Because I know many people are using AI, for example, to translate English books into other languages. And then when they give it to someone who actually is from or was brought up in that culture speaking that language, there are a lot of differences. So what do you think about lost in translation?
I mean, that is definitely it's a good question, and also pretty much this question definitely comes into play when we talk about translation anyway. And there will definitely be something is lost in translation. We cannot translate exactly the way it is written in an original language. No matter how much you try to translate it, or how best you translate, because the language carries emotions, a culture, the tone, the voice, and it's very hard to completely translate exactly the same kind of emotions when it gets translated into a different language. And also sometimes even if you speak in your mother tongue, that is also kind of somehow sort of a translation itself, which takes place in a very unconscious process. The I forgot his name, the author is Steiner, and he talks about in his book, I think it's a something Babel. I think that's the title of the book. I cannot remember quite well right now. He also talks about even if you are a native born English speaking person, and then you speak in English, still there is a kind of unconscious translations going on as it comes out to as you speak. But that is a very in a deeper level. But you're talking about how translating from one language to another language, how possible it is to translate, or what is the lost in translation is like. It definitely, and it's not easy. The effort would be always how to best translate, to try to communicate the same emotions as best as we can, and we'll try our best, but definitely we cannot bring 100% out. Yeah, I agree with that.
I agree with you, especially since in English language we have slang. If you think about English, there's the British English, which people will call proper English, there's American English. So I think your point is very valid.
Mhm.
And I want to move into the fact that you are also a professor and your area of focus is English. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. I teach English composition and writing. Yeah.
So, a lot of the research that I've seen is the fact that Americans overall in the United States, that the education level in terms of basics like English, math, and I know this is a general question, that it's really started to fall backwards over a number of years. What are you seeing in your role as a professor?
I think that's a very good questions, and I also have observed that somewhat. I have been teaching at a U.S. Institution quite for some time now, maybe 15, 16 years now. And then, I remember, the students that I taught in my beginning years were very much, the interested and willing to write, and they really came up with, nice ideas and nice paper. They appear to be more creative when it comes down to writing an essay. But these days, I do not see very much of that sort of a talent, or maybe putting much effort into writing, except for a few students who want to work hard on their own. Maybe it could be the reason of AI also. The AI pretty much does everything for them, so they don't bother with doing making an effort as well. And it also has reduced the reading habits, because they don't have patience when it comes to reading and writing. And I have noticed that quite a lot. And you are right that you asked me these questions, and I think one of the reason could be an AI, because some of the writing is very stilted and very repetitive, and that does not really bring kind of a creative ideas into play, and that is very noticeable these days. And that is one of the I think distressing, I mean, one of the pessimistic things I would say, along with the benefits of AI. These are some of the the challenges that we have been coping with, and as an instructor, that is what I have noticed as well. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate your candor in reference to that area. When I went for my master's degree, it was actually in person. And years later, I went for my doctorate, which I graduated with in 2011, and it was all online except the residencies. And all these years later, starting last year, I started a program at the Wharton School of Business, which is all online except for once a week. It's a Zoom meeting where you get together with colleagues. So I haven't seen from a technology perspective that much difference between 2012, 2011, I should say, and now. But what are you seeing as someone who's on the other side of it?
You mean the how the technology has affected the
Yes.
people's.
So are you finding that it's more valuable in your experience for people to be in an in-classroom setting? Or
Mhm.
do you think that it can be just as valuable to do something where it's on Zoom and you're on your own, or some combination of the three?
I think this is something entirely depends on the individual person. If they are really hardworking and want to grow from there, and want to work hard, I think whether that be in person or online, that really doesn't matter very much. But those who want to who wants to get an excuse, or do not want to put effort, even if whether in person or online, they are really not going to do a good performance in class either. But talking about online and in person, I think still there is a some significance of having in-person classes as well, because that it at least will give an opportunity to have a kind of face-to-face interactions, being in person, and that also allows the instructor and teacher to put them together into a workshop, and that will help, that will want let them avoid certain things that they could do, that they could avoid if they are going an online class. So that's why I think there are more benefits of going through an in-person class than an online class. Is entirely based on my observations, because that basically in-person class helps them be more proactive, and that also kind of encourages somehow an active learning, and can introduce so many other the technologies within the classroom, and activate the classroom quite more in a very effective way, and that will give a very less chance for students to avoid the class or to be very lethargic or passive as well. So comparatively, I think in-person class would be more effective, and more the enriching compared to the online class. That is my personal observation so far. Yeah.
Thank you, Doctor. I would agree with you on that. It's almost like when we attended the conference could have been virtual where people dial in and we're all on Zoom, but it's those sidebar conversations that you have with people. You meet somebody in the hallway and you have a conversation. So I think there's validity to doing it online for people who are not able to travel, for example. They've got a lot of commitments, but I do think in person there's also value. So let's get into your books. You're the author of more than a dozen books. What was the first book you wrote, and what was the reason for writing it?
Yeah, I mean, my very first book is my debut novel, Running from the Dreamland. That is something I wrote, when I came to the US to further my studies in professional writing, and creative writing was my major, and that was part of the thesis, the capstone project that I work on, and it was published in 2014, by a small press here in Atlanta. That is basically about a character who came from Nepal to the US and had to go through the harrowing experiences, in terms of the cultural adjustment and language barrier and so many other things, and what it meant to be being in a different country other than the country the character was born and raised. And he thought that America was the dreamland, but was it really the dreamland, or what is the real dreamland? Those are some of the bigger the biggest questions the novel itself asks for the readers to contemplate. So those are some of the striking questions that came to my mind, and I thought this would be a good book if I give it a kind of a fictional touch, and that is the reason why I came up with those ideas and the plot and the story in my mind, and I wrote that book.
Thank you so much. And for those who are going to be listening to this on a podcast platform later, we actually have your website up with your books. Can you tell our audience what is the website address?
I think my website is pretty much all about my the books, what I do, the events that I go to, the book signing events and the readings, pretty much my blogs and the updated news and things like that, but focuses on the kinds of books that I have published so far. And definitely I'm all over the places. Even my genre, focus genre is fiction, but I have published some academic research book as well as part of my being in academia, and also non-fictions, and recently also a poetry has come out in Nepali. That's my debut poetry book in Nepali as well. So I write both in English and Nepali languages, and all of that you see on my website. Yeah.
Thank you for that. And we also have another show called The Corner Bookstore, and we'll ask authors, are you writing or have you gotten published because you want to get rich and famous, or because you want the credibility? Everyone has their own reason. How would you describe your reasons for writing?
I think my focus, on writing basically has something to do with my own call for doing something good for society. Sometimes writing is a therapeutic experience for myself, but sometimes I also want to make sure that this is something needs to come out. This is something that needs to be heard. And perhaps people will find something in it, for their takeaways, or could be, for their own motivation, or could be something, this is something is very beneficial for people to know and understand, for this world to be a better place, to live in the future. I think there are various reasons behind that, except for, oh, I want to be world and famous. If I tomorrow I continue to write, and then, if something that I really, my writing comes out to be really very the beneficial out for the world, and it gets attentions and gets heard, then and naturally, without even thinking, something becomes famous. That is entirely different thing. But my first goal is just to get the masses across, to myself have a therapeutic experience, and also let the world know what's going on and why it needs to be heard. I think those are some of the reasons that guide me to write.
What really stood out to me was when you just said therapeutic experience, because it sort of is very cathartic to write and get something in paper, and then once you get that first book copy delivered to you and you hold it in your hand, it is, I imagine, because I've never run a marathon, but I imagine it's like crossing the line and like,
Yeah,
yay, it's amazing. So
I hear you.
how, if all, do you tie that into what you're teaching in terms of English composition? Are there people who are taking the program and then thinking, okay, I want to be able to express myself through the written word?
No, I mean teaching and writing, I think, goes simultaneously, because as a teacher you also have to read, because that will enlighten you, inform you, keep you updated with what's going on in terms of writing, and what kind of new books are coming out as well. And that is the I read, because the reading also helps me, perform me well in the classroom, because I can communicate ideas quite effectively, and I can, ideas are very important, and also bring so many ideas into play when it comes to discussion in the classroom as well. So that's why these ideas are very important when it comes to writing. The more you read, the better writer you can be, if you, because that will give you a lot of reading, will give you a lot of insights, a lot of ideas, a lot of perspectives into play, and that is something you might want to bring in your writing, and that writing will be more enriching and more relatable when it goes to the reader as well. So that's why I think the teaching and writing goes side by side, especially for me. Yeah.
And what about your students, doctor? Do they come away from your program and have an interest in getting published, or are they two separate things?
I mean, when they some of the, I mean, the students know the teacher's bio, right? I mean, they know that I'm an author of a few books as well, and some of them are interested in my writing, in my books, and would like to say, hey, what kind of writing? Oh, I also want to be a writer. There are very few of them, but mostly what I've noticed is that they do not seem to be very much interested in writing. And reading, perhaps they want to have some sort of a, the get a kind of a, technical skills and get into the job, like as soon as they want to, get into the job and start making money. I think that is more important for many of the students that I have noticed so far. And also the students I teach are mostly coming from a different background, like nursing, the business and this and that, but but they have to take that, the English writing and composition class as a core class. So that's why their passion, their goal, and their objective is entirely different from my goal and objective. So that also could be one of the reasons why many of them do not seem to be focused. But especially those English, I mean, the students who come from an English major, I think 90% or more of them seem to be interested in writing. And yeah, some of them reach out to me, say, hey, how to get it published? And I kind of, give them an idea that how difficult and challenging it is. And at the same time, how fun it is when it, comes to the world of publishing. Yeah.
Yes, it's absolutely, in my opinion, a very rewarding experience. We also have the link to Amazon where people can purchase your books. So we talked about the first book that you wrote. What is the most recent one?
Yeah, the most recent one is just right there. If you see in the background, that Like Water on Leaves of Taro, that is a memoir that came out 6-7 months ago. And this book was was nominated for the 2026 Georgia Author of the Year. Although it didn't get that award, but it won another award, which was the 2026 Georgia Independent Authors Association Award that that won that award a couple of weeks ago as well. So it has really got a wonderful reception as well. So yeah, that is the book, Like Water on Leaves of Tarot. That is the most recent book which came out a few months ago. Yeah.
And how would you describe the journey that the reader will take for this book?
I mean, this really brings in two cultural perspective. I mean, not two, more than, two cultural perspective into play. It is about loss, meditation on loss. What it meant by losing your immediate family members, and that happened in the backdrop of, the in the backdrop of COVID-19, and it was not, the COVID-19 has nothing to do with, the death of the immediate members, in the family, but in the backdrop of the COVID-19, there's such a experience that my wife had to go through, and I was right there to support her, and it is more about how we always kind of, a death is a kind of a hush topic. It's a taboo topic that we don't want to talk about basically, but why it needs to be discussed and talked. This is why this topic is very important. Death doesn't come with always with tragedy and loss and this and that, but it also brings some kind of a reunion and some so many other things that we never noticed before. I think that is something has been highlighted, and how it has been viewed all across the world in different cultures. I think that is something I have discussed in this book through a lot of research as well, and this is a memoir too. Yeah.
I haven't had an opportunity to read it yet, but I definitely will. Is it in English, I should ask? Because
It
the cover's
is.
in English.
Yes,
Yes.
it is in
Okay,
English.
fantastic.
Yeah.
And do you plan on doing any audio version of this?
My publisher is planning to do that. We have been talking about it. Most possibly in a few months, I think it will be out. The audio will be out, definitely. Yeah.
Congratulations. That's exciting.
Thank
And
you.
so you're also a researcher. Tell us what type of research you've done or that you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, my PhD is in public administration. And when I wrote my dissertation, I mean, my research focus area is, marginalized community, people with disabilities, especially women and gender and things like that. So most of my research have been guided by, those, themes or the topics as well. But being as a, the director of the social science department at Nexus Institute of Research and Innovation, that's a research institute. I have been working on a project. It's called Senior Care Senior Citizen Care Project is still going on in the very remote regions of Nepal. And the last time I also went there to I lead the project basically, and this is more about the conditions of the older adults and how to address what kind of a policies that we need to formulate to address the conditions of the senior citizens in remote regions, like Upper Mustang in Nepal and things like that. So right now I'm focused on that kind of research, but my research focus area is mostly, marginalized communities, people with disabilities and gender and things like that. And I have already a couple of books out. One of the book is Gender, Disability, in Nepal, Sex, Gender, and Disability in Nepal, that was published by Routledge. Another book was by Sex, Desire, and Taboo in South Asia, that was published by Bloomsbury. Those are the academic research book as well. Yeah.
Fascinating work, Doctor. And one of the things I'm wondering in reference to this area when it comes to senior citizens, I'm 63. I'm not sure if that makes me a senior citizen yet or not. I forget what the age is. But when I was growing up as a baby boomer, we were taught, and I believed, that you treat your elders with respect. And I know in certain parts of the world that still goes on, but I don't see that much of it in my own experience in the United States. What are your thoughts about that?
I think that's a beautiful thoughts and questions that you have raised. We still have, I mean, basically the Nepalese culture is more about respecting seniors like elders. Love youngers. The young people. Younger than you, and then the respect the one who is older than you. This is an idea that we still have. In Nepali culture, definitely. But I don't know, because of these globalizations and technology subtitles, all kind of stuff. And I don't know this, the Westernizations. I don't know. I really don't know. These days we do not seem to be, people being very mindful and thoughtful of that idea. But still, I still see that it still prevail that, hey, we need to love younger than us, and respect older than us, that kind of a phenomenon. But even if we have that the idea in saying, but in practice, we really need to work on that somehow. But in Nepali culture, still the policy suggests that when you are 60 plus is senior citizen, but internationally 65 plus is kind of, I think, defined as senior citizens. But when I do my research, I still put that category 65 plus under senior citizen category. Anyway, so yeah, I think that is still in there in Nepali culture, because Nepali culture is more about respecting and loving as well. So I see people still being respectful of older than themselves. Yeah.
I'm glad to know, first of all, that I'm not a senior citizen yet. Yay. That's a good thing. And the second thing is, I also remember, in line with what you said, I remember growing up, if I didn't know something, go ask your father, go ask your teacher. Now it's like, go ask YouTube. YouTube can tell you everything, but it's not the same thing as interacting with a person. And I think, although we have so much access to resources, that you can take that information, and that's a great way to start a conversation with someone. Hey, I looked up something from the 1940s, and you were around then. What did you, whatever the question might be, you can bring someone in to actually create a very dynamic conversation.
So, so can you repeat that questions again? I thought you were just
No,
sharing.
I think we can. I think we have so much information available to us that we can use that as a stepping stone or a foundation to have conversations with people who are older or people who are younger. I feel like each and every one of us has something to share. And it doesn't really matter what our age is. It's just about getting
Yeah.
people to open up and share their experiences.
Yeah, definitely, because we all have our own thoughts and ideas. No matter what age group you have, we always bring our perspectives into play, because our mindset, our worldviews, our perspectives are shaped by our upbringing, the environments around us, or maybe the heredity as well, right? Because the kind of heredity that you have, or the environments that you have come from, definitely shape your worldviews and thoughts, which is completely different from mine. So listening to you is always enlightening and insightful, because I will be learning different in perspective or different worldviews from you, and so is mine. So that's why it is always good to equally respect each and every individual, no matter what age group you come from, because disrespecting the younger, and then kind of or maybe kind of looking down upon the younger than you. Hey, he's just so younger than me. What else he might have for me to understand or know from him. I mean, that kind of a thing will definitely put you inside the box. If you really want to see things outside the box, you really need to respect and listen to each and every individual, no matter what age group they come from. It has, you can get definitely those information from different sources online and this and that, but at the same time, each individual has their own psyche, own voice, that is very much important for us to listen to. Yeah.
Completely agree with you. And doctor, you seem to have a lot going on at the same time, between being a professor, a researcher, and also an author. It sounds like you're also a mentor. How do you manage your time? How do you prioritize what you're doing?
I think it's all about your passion. When you are passionate about reading, writing, teaching, and doing research, I think everything goes simultaneously. You do not have to separate your time. Oh, I will do this for that, I'll do that, but this is how I will do it. I think if you start separating, or if you start, being very much, organized too much, I think that will make your that will mess your life up. So but if you let it go with your passion and interest, and continue doing what you have been doing, I think those things just happen simultaneously. I really haven't had planned for all of that. When I need to teach, I think I prepare before class, go and teach, and then I have especially the writing. Thing that I do is pretty much on weekends. I do a lot of writing on weekends. Sometimes I give some time to my family and we go out and things like that. And when there is some holiday, I do writing. Pretty much, if other people sleep like 7-8 hours a day or night, I think I sleep maybe 5-6 hours. So I think those are a little bit of a few things that that might help me to give me some extra hours. Otherwise, I think I let everything go on its own, and do things simultaneously. Yeah.
The word that really resonates with me is passion. I think when we're passionate about what we're doing, it doesn't feel like a job. It's not actually work. And so I know and can tell that you're very passionate about what you're doing. For people who want to connect with you, whether it's ordering your books, having you as a mentor, what's the best way to get in touch and who should contact you?
Yeah, I think pretty much, all my contact information is on my website. I'm available through, any social media. I'm on Facebook. I'm on, even TikTok. You see, I have 2 Twitter account. I mean, they call it X, I guess, these days. So yeah, and I have my email address also is right there. So either way, you can reach out to me, and that is the way we can get in touch. Yeah. Yeah, that's
We
the way.
are showing your website right now again, but for people who are listening and they can't read the banner, can you speak verbally as to the best way to contact you?
Yes, definitely. So you can reach out to me through my email address, which is my first name Tulasi, Tulasi dot, and my last name Acharya, one, the digit one, at gmail.com, or my website www.tulasiacharya.com. So yeah, so those are my the contact info. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Doctor. As we close out, what's a final message that you'd like to leave with our audience who might be watching live, or maybe they're watching a year from now?
I think always keep doing what you have been doing, especially the things that is that you are very passionate about. And then always get motivated. When you wake up in the morning, perhaps just do a little bit of a yoga and some kind of a breathing exercise, inhale, exhale, walk a little bit, do a little bit of a morning walk, an evening walk, a little bit of a jogging. And then if you are interested in writing, write a page or two every day, read a few pages every day. Always keep motivated. And if you are not a writer, just keep motivated all the time, think positively all the time, be optimistic about life, and just continue doing what you have been doing, but do something that you are passionate about, and that is something that keeps you happy. So yeah, thank you.
I appreciate all of that and agree with you. And I just want to share as we close out, you never know where an invitation may take you. So if people invite you to do something and you're concerned because you don't want to be visible, you don't want to be in the public domain, you don't know what you're missing. And you may sit back one day and say, you know what, if only I had, and fill in the blank. So I'm so glad that you and I were both attending that conference. And I'm so grateful to Sangeeta for introducing me. And that's, I ended up at the conference through someone I met, through someone else in London. So you just never know where things are going to take us. So thank you for sharing today, and we will welcome you back on another program.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jacalyn. Thank you for this opportunity, and this is a beautiful opportunity to have a conversation with each other. And also, because of Sangeeta, you managed to travel all the way to Colorado, and that is the place where we met. And it was wonderful to see you here on this online platform. You never know; sometimes we might run into another event again. So, all right, thank you very much.
I hope so. Bye for now.
Okay, bye-bye.
As I mentioned, we are going to be changing the name of the show. And just like I said earlier, you just don't know where things are going to lead. So this show is Iconic Women. We just had the good doctor here. We decided to change the title. So Be open. I think be flexible to evolving instead of being stagnant. I always do it this way. I always do it this way. I've heard this from people. And today I'm doing life completely differently than I was doing it before the pandemic. So I was in corporate selling meetings at events, and now I have 2 businesses of my own and really enjoy my life so much more than I did. I'm very grateful for the past and very grateful for the present. So again, thank you for being here. If you haven't done so yet, we would love to have you join us on our YouTube channels. We actually have 2. The first one, USA Global TV and Radio, we've earned the YouTube Silver Creator Award for over 100,000 subscribers. I think we have 113,000 now. And the Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck channel, we started 2 years later, and we just crossed over 40,000. So please do consider joining us. And as we close out, we're going to be running a sponsorship from one of my dear friends and colleagues who's written a book. It's called Aging Sucks and the Guesswork, There is Hope. So let's hear from Red O'Loughlin and about his new book, and we'll be back with our next show. Thank you.
What if many of the problems we associate with aging are not random? What if there are identifiable causes behind declining energy, chronic disease, and memory problems? We have been told that aging is simply something we must accept, that slowing down is normal, that growing older means growing weaker. But what if that's only part of the story? Why do some people remain active and engaged well into their later years? Why do others struggle with disease, fatigue, and declining health? What is happening beneath the surface? What processes drive aging? In Aging Sucks, researcher, educator, and author Red O'Loughlin explores what researchers have discovered about why we grow older. No medical degree required, no confusing jargon, just clear explanations of what researchers have discovered about the processes that influence aging. You cannot stop aging, but understanding its causes may help you make better decisions about your health, your future, and your quality of life. Because understanding comes before action. Action creates hope. Aging sucks. End the guesswork. There is hope.
People are searching for experts every day. Are they finding you, or are they finding someone else? Every day, professionals are building authority through media. We've already built the platform. USA Global TV and Radio. Over 14,000 shows streamed to over 60 countries. This isn't about becoming famous. It's about leverage, visibility, credibility, opportunity. One interview, one conversation, one show, repurposed into content, connection, and business growth. Most people assume hosting a TV show requires a studio, a production team, and a massive budget. Our television packages begin at $1,500 US per month. Professional production, global distribution, replay visibility, built for voices with something to say. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and if this resonates with you, we should talk. USA Global TV and Radio, all rights reserved. Contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/usaglobaltv. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.